Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journeys, encouraging folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories. Join us as we explore the journeys of women entrepreneurs in the food and beverage industry. Hello and welcome to Masoni and Marshall, the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journeys of food entrepreneurs. We're glad you've joined us today as we bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce.
And Sarah Masoni of Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center. Good morning, Sarah Marshall.
Hi, Sarah Masoni. How is your week this week?
Oh, gee, it was a busy week. Yesterday, I got to go to the OEN, Oregon Entrepreneur Network event in the evening, and they announced the winner of $160,000.
Whoa!
And it was the folks with the honeybees. Wow, I should have thought about it before I started talking about it. One second, let me tell you. It's the honeybee people. Yeah, it's Mickleberry Gardens.
Oh, yeah, they do the PSU Farmers Market with us.
Yeah, we need to have them on the show.
Let's get them booked. How fun. Well, congratulations, Mickleberry Gardens.
Exciting.
That's so cool. They make all kinds of products with honey from their hives.
Yeah, and Elsie Dinville was one of the runner-up.
Oh, yay.
Yay, it was exciing. Let's see, who else was there? I took pictures.
Elsie's from Creole Me Up. She's been on our show before, if people know her.
Yep. Then we had the fellow from Bend with the Paloma No Booze, All Buzz, Zero Proof Cocktails. He was there giving a talk. And we had the lady with the pizzas, which we haven't had on our show, which we need to. It was just an exciting evening.
That's so fun. I love the energy at those kinds of pitch competitions. Oh, yeah, they have been on the show and they were pivoting from restaurant to food products.
Yeah, and then Plant Bomb, he has a group of really nice, healthy salad dressings. He also
I just saw him at the Portland Night Market this last weekend.
So it was a good showing of what's going on in Portland.
Very fun. Well, if people don't know about the OEN, Oregon Entrepreneur Network, check it out. It's a great local organization. And those pitch competitions are always so fun.
Yeah, super cool.
Well, we have been partnering with the Regional Food Business Center to bring guests from our 5-state region. We're currently in meeting with business owners from the great state of Colorado. So we would like to welcome our co-host, Mike Gabel from Colorado State University's Food Innovation Center. Hi, Mike.
Sarah, it is great to be back with you.
It's great to be with you again. Any Colorado news for us?
No, I think it's just I brought to mind Ben Bacon of Lentiful. We were talking about him last episode with Naturally Boulder, and so he reached out. He'd won the Naturally Boulder Pitch Slam in May, and he reached out. It brings to mind that Ben had first collaborated with Oregon State's Food Innovation Center to develop their product.
Yeah.
And so we're helping him out now.
It's such a fun crossover that the two of you from two different states have both helped this super rad product. I was just at the Food Innovation Center the other day and saw Lentiful up on the shelves. So cool that you can both be part of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome. He is so awesome. So just that's the small bit of news, that's a little bit of crossover with Oregon State.
It's great.
Cool. Well, Mike, thanks for keeping us connected to all our new Colorado friends. If you want to connect with your state, you can sign up for the Regional Food Business Center newsletter. Just go to Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center.com and sign up for that newsletter so you can stay connected with all things happening in your area. We would like to thank our sponsor for supporting Masoni and Marshall. Thank you for helping to spread the word about entrepreneurs. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. The Northwest and Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center is the proud sponsor of the Meaningful Marketplace podcast, giving a voice to food from across the 6-state region of Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. The Food Business Center supports Northwest and Rocky Mountain food industry makers as part of the USDA's National Network of Food Business Centers, supporting a more resilient, diverse, and competitive food system as a go-to source for small and mid-tier food and farm businesses with a focus on underserved communities, providing education in the form of technical knowledge, business programs, and industry news. We sponsor trade shows, meetups, and conferences to connect growers, producers, retailers, distributors, and processors, all to stimulate business and raise the standards of our storied food industry. Join us as we travel through the 6-state region, learning more about food makers, food hubs, and food systems. Visit the website at Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Businesses.com to get connected. So I have the pleasure of introducing our Colorado guest, Sam Nelson. He is the co-founder of Bar You Eat, making gluten-free organic adventure granola bars in Colorado. Hi, Sam. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Well, we always like to connect our listeners to you. Can you give us the best way for them to follow along on your story and find you on social media and online?
Yeah. Bar You Eat. It's spelled Barueat. Across all platforms. So whether it's our Instagram or Facebook, LinkedIn, or our website, just search Bar You Eat. And we're a pretty small team. So if you wanted to chat with us, you can message us, email us, and we'll get back to you.
Perfect. You make it easy for everybody. I like that.
We try. We try.
Well, we always kind of like to start at the beginning. So can you tell us when you started and what prompted you to start Bar You Eat?
We started Bar You Eat in the fall of 2019. Actually founded the business with my childhood best friend, Jason Friday. So we actually grew up across the street from each other. We've known each other since we were 2 years old, but neither of us set out to start a granola bar company. It happened very organically. I used to guide sea kayaking and trekking in Iceland. I was inspired by this bar. I took on all of my trips. Jason had actually come out for a trip as well. So he tried this bar and it just sat in the back of my mind. I've always loved food and nutrition. I've got a background in sport and fitness. And so I developed this bar just for myself. I wanted a 4.5 to 1 carbs to protein ratio. I wanted simple ingredients, no oils, no sweeteners. And I wanted a unique texture, a little soft and chewy, a little crunchy. So I made Bar You Eat for myself. I shared it with Jason and other friends out in Colorado, and we're biking and skiing until enough peer pressure one day to sell them. But I needed some logos and designs, and Jason is incredibly artistic and creative. And so I just kept poking him for free art and free designs until he called me back and said, "Hey, I think you're onto something with Bar You Eat. How would you like to start this business with me?" And yeah, that's how we got to the fall of 2019 and Bar You Eat officially launching.
That's so great. I love when people's stories just come together, and especially when it can be like a lifelong friend, it makes it so much more special.
Definitely. No, I feel really grateful. And you look at all your friends, and it's not easy. It's a little risky going into business with friends or family, but Jason and I have traveled a lot. We know each other really well. And some could say we know each other a little too well, because when we bring people into the team, we're like, oh yeah, we have to communicate. We know what each other are thinking, but others don't.
Communication's prime real estate when you're running a business, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, we always like to talk about what makes your bars special and different. So if you want to explain either the flavors or the ingredients, you don't have to give us any secret recipes or anything, but let's just describe to the customer what it would be like to eat one of your bars.
Yeah, I like to run through the experience. When you first pick up the bar, you can actually see every ingredient in there. You see the whole oats, the whole nuts and seeds. And then when you bite into the bar, it is a really unique texture. It's soft and chewy, which is different from many granola bars. We use dates and honey. So that keeps it soft and chewy, and it gives it the unique crunch mixed in with the roasted nuts and seeds. And then the big thing we're very proud of, and since day one has been a part of our packaging, is that all of our wrappers, all of our packaging are compostable. And so about a year and a half ago, we became the first ever bar company to launch BPI certified bar wrappers. So from a whole holistic standpoint, we're trying to do the right way, from simple organic ingredients, oil-free, and compostable wrappers.
I saw that on your website. You said feed your dirt, and that really piqued my interest. I looked at it, I'm like, oh, they're talking about composting.
Uh-huh. We try to have a little fun, sometimes whether it's the messaging or just the attitude. We try not to take ourselves too seriously. Do good, but we don't need to shove it in your face. We're all trying our best.
That's great. I think that's a great approach to interacting with your customers. You don't want to make people feel guilty if they're maybe not composting or recycling, but you just want to encourage them to follow along with what you're doing as well in a way with grace. And I think you guys do that.
It's hard. It's hard. Not everyone has access to composting, and you just look at where recycling was when it was first introduced. So it takes time. If we can just incorporate a small, easy step where people can eliminate a little bit of plastic from their lives, then we're stoked on that. And if we can start to introduce composting into the lifestyle as well, even better. But it's all part of the process, and we're just trying to stay positive and have fun throughout.
So teach me something. Can I just eat my bar and then put the wrapper in with my little compost bin under my sink?
You can. Yeah. It's been really fun experimenting with these wrappers. So they're made from wood and corn. They're regenerative. When they're put into the soil, into the earth, they actually break down and become soil. There's no chemicals or any weird things in there making this happen. So we've done experiments where we've literally just put it underneath an inch of soil and left it for a year, and it was completely gone. So not even in the compost. In rural Colorado, where we're at, I'll throw it in my compost at home, and it'll be gone in anywhere from 2 to 4 months. It happens pretty quickly, which is neat to see. Every environment is obviously different. We're technically certified compostable for industrial settings, but there, your environment, so go at it as you please. Just don't, like anything else, don't throw it out on the trail. Don't throw it out your car window. It still is littering.
Just to put it in context, what other types of everyday items might be made from BPI? Do you happen to know that people might know about in their everyday? Is there anything? Like what about those bags, those compostable bags that people use? Or is that the same kind of?
Yep. So BPI is the North American certifying body for biodegradable and compostable materials. They're making sure that things fit in their standards, and they only do certifications for industrial compostable, and they have pretty high standards for that. You might see plates and cups that have this BPI certification. Sometimes your cutlery will have it as well. Oftentimes, it's quite impressive. You might not realize it has this certification. And while sometimes, depending on where you're at in the environment, it might not break down and it might get mixed in incorrectly, what we think of as a positive is that they're generally made from natural components. So like ours, they're made from wood and corn, and even if they're put into a landfill, it's a much lower impact on the environment.
That's really cool.
So talk about the journey. Was it hard to find a supplier for that? How many different iterations did you go through, Sam?
It was incredibly challenging out of the gate. I mean, we're almost 5 years in. So now you look back on anything, you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But I remember those early years where it started as it wasn't BPI certified, but it was compostable. It started as a stand-up pouch. And the coffee industry has always been leading the charge as far as food goes with those materials. So technically speaking, we were using a coffee stand-up pouch that was compostable. We went through a few iterations of individual bags that were all compostable to get here. Super, super fortunate to be connected with Elk Packaging out of California, who's been really innovative in their process and with the materials that they're able to get and put together and test. So it has been really challenging, but being connected and around great advisors, mentors, and individuals in this industry has made a huge difference.
Fantastic. And then as far as scaling goes, how different is the product?
As well. So it's almost exactly the same. And then peanuts and cherries and oatmeal raisin, those are two that came about 1 year into the business, and a lot of brainstorming with friends, family, roommates until we dialed in those recipes and sampled them out and put them to market. But yeah, it's been pretty consistent, and everything's improving with scale, to be honest.
Fantastic.
It's really nice. I've been admiring the colors you chose in your packaging. I think they're very representative of the flavors that you are working with. So good job on that.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we try to keep everything simple across the board. The name is simple. It is a bar you eat. Like to have a little fun and playfulness with that, and keep the name simple and colors, and yeah, don't overthink it.
It's cool.
Well, you mentioned a couple of the different flavors that you have. How many flavors do you have, and what are they?
We have 4 flavors. So we have the original, which has cashews and almonds. It's a little bit more nutty of a bar. Then our coffee pecans, almonds, light coffee flavor. It's really nice. And then our oatmeal raisin. It's kind of like an oatmeal raisin cookie, but without all that bad stuff. You get the notes of cinnamon. And then finally, peanuts and cherries, which is our own little twist of a PB&J. Tart cherries contrast beautifully with the peanuts and salt. And we present all of these in traditional granola bars, but we also do bites bags. So it's the same thing as the bars, just a different presentation. So for those who like to share or kind of just want one bite at a time, the bites are great. Otherwise, the bars will handle any adventure.
I'm curious about your journey. I think I read that you weren't able to find a co-packer that would work with the film. So you ended up just setting up your own bar line.
Yeah.
I want to hear about that. That's exciting.
Yeah, it was quite the journey. When we started, I feel like it's a pretty traditional path at the beginning. We did the commissary kitchens. We were making bars until 2 a.m. and traveling to markets and events any day we could. Very little sleep, and somehow friends and family volunteering to help make bars. That was huge. But we got to the point where we couldn't make any more, and we couldn't ask for any more favors. And we contemplated everything. Initially, being in rural Colorado, we're in Steamboat Springs. It's a beautiful mountain town. We did not want to leave, but we realized that co-packing might be our best option. As we called around, we had good conversations, but people did not want to use compostable film. They would have to slow down their process. It's inefficient, and we've been using compostable material since day one, so we did not want to compromise on that. Additionally, our bars are oil-free. It's another thing where it creates a bigger mess. It's challenging to work with, slows down the process. So again, 2 areas that we know our customers valued and we valued. So we were really fortunate. My partner, Jason, he found a property where we could put a kitchen, and I was a little hesitant, but luckily he kept nudging and pursuing, and it ended up being a perfect fit. It's in Hayden, which is about 20 minutes west of Steamboat. It's a great community. It had the bones we needed, and so with a little work, we were able to get our equipment in there. And so we invested in a bar wrapping machine, a slab machine to help roll out the bars, and a lot of the process is still handmade. But once we got in there, that's when we introduced the BPI wrappers, and that was incredibly hard. No one had ever done it. So it wasn't like, hey, how do you do this? Can you walk me through it? They're like, generally speaking, this is how plastic works, but best of luck. And Jason, he is incredibly impressive when it comes to thinking mechanically, this engineering mind. He was able, and it was not easy, figure out how to get these wrappers to work and how to get our waste down. So it became a very efficient and smooth process, but it took months and months. And I still don't know how he did it, but he did, and really grateful for everything he put into getting us there. But
yeah, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yep. And we have to run our equipment slower because of the compostable materials, and we have to spend a lot more time cleaning because we don't use oil. But it's worth it. Luckily, this is something that's been a part of the business since day one.
So the film comes in what's called roll stock. It's pre-printed for you, and it comes in a big roll, and then you attach it into the machine, which is a flow wrapper, correct?
Correct.
And the film is formed and the bars are inserted all at the same time.
That's correct. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, but I want to know a little bit more about your bar machine. There's a picture of, I don't know if it's you or your partner putting the, I don't want to say batter, but the bar dough into a machine
the mash.
with some rollers. Yeah.
Yes. So on this, when we first started, The process is pretty similar. It's just scaled up. So we get all the ingredients, we mix them together into what we call our mash. Initially, Jason, the brilliant engineering mechanical mind, had CAD designed some custom molds where it first started by like literal 1 at a time bars to 16 at a time.
I've done that before. That's not fun.
No, literally making bars 1 at a time. It's like sometimes it's a figure of speech. I'm like, no, I remember when I was stoked that I made 60 bars in 2 hours. Like things have progressed. We now take that same mash, but in a larger volume, and we put it on this slab machine that has 2 rollers. And so it compresses that mash and it's guided. So it turns into 2 slabs that are the perfect width and length of our bars. And it cools the entire slab across the belt until it gets to the very end where the guillotine is. And the guillotine cuts it into the bar that you're familiar with that comes inside that packaging.
Nice. And
then, as you mentioned, it goes through the flow wrapper.
Nice. Cool. So I'm going to jump right into it. We have a couple more minutes before our break, but I want to ask, have you thought about co-packing for other small bar startups?
We have actually very recently. It was really hard to get this going. And from the get-go, we never wanted to take on more than we can handle. But Jason has got us into a really good position in our manufacturing, and we do have the capacity to bring others on. So we're getting ready, and we've got the facility is third-party certified. We've got all of our audits. We've got our organic and gluten-free certifications. So we want to continue the process and bring others in who kind of share those values that we can collaborate with.
That's great.
Well, we want to take a quick break, and we'll come back and hear more about your biz.
Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard. By providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together. Okay, you talked a little bit about your flavors, but let's dive in a little deeper. I see there's a photo of you, I think, in Iceland. What were you doing in Iceland? And then tell us about the bars that you ate there and how you made them into your own.
I was guiding sea kayaking and trekking in Iceland. I was finishing college and I had done a little traveling abroad. I knew I wanted to finish college with an internship abroad, and I emailed and reached out to probably 60 something companies, and this one in Iceland and in Ísafjörður, Boreal Adventures is the one who responded. Runar and Nani run the company. This couple, they're amazing. Their family is incredible. I lived with their son Orvar, and I guided sea kayaking and trekking that first summer as just kind of an assistant. And I did it the next year as a lead guide. And every trip we had these granola bars, and they were these simple seed and rhubarb granola bars, a little sweeter than bar you eat. And I'll be honest, they're better than bar you eat. They're like, maybe it's the nostalgia and just loving that place and that family and everyone, but like those rhubarb seed bars, unreal. And it just sat in the back of my mind. I mean, you have that sweet bar, you have this incredible experience, and what we think of bar you eat is that. It's like you are having an experience. Bar you eat is just a part of experience. It's getting you to that place. It's getting you through the day. We just want to be a part of your journey. And yeah, I moved back to the States and was doing a lot of that. I was adventuring. I was on journeys, but sometimes I was on the computer all day long. And I just wanted something to get me through it that I was feeling good about, that added to that experience.
Here's an interesting detail about rhubarb. I think rhubarb probably went to Iceland. It did go to Alaska as a source of vitamin C a long time ago. And the long summer days, the rhubarb grows enormous.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very prolific. And so that's really cool that they're making a value-added food product with rhubarb.
We would use it for a lot of things too. Jason didn't. It can be bitter. Right.
Yeah.
Right. When you pick it or cut it. And so we do these rhubarb stews, and I don't love sweets that much. If you're eating bar you eat, you'll notice compared to other bars, it's not that sweet. It's a really light, natural sweetness. And so we would pick this rhubarb and make a rhubarb stew in Iceland. And when I had Jason on one of my trips, I made this rhubarb stew, and it was way too bitter, and he's kind of scarred from it. He is not a fan
He's
of
like,
the
no
rhubarb.
more rhubarb. No, not rhubarb.
my seasonal hot sauce flavor right now is strawberry rhubarb, and I make it every year during this time because the strawberries and the rhubarb just happen to be growing at the same time, but it only happens for like 1 week in Oregon. So then I
Yeah.
make just a few bottles of this sauce to sell at the farmer's market.
I think it's one of the best combinations, strawberry rhubarb. We know, like
Yeah,
whatever you're doing, hot sauce, pie, an ultra bitter stew, it would be less bitter with the strawberry. It's great.
yeah, yeah. It's a fun combo.
So for your product ingredients and the flavors that you've developed, it sounds like you have an internal team of people who taste and try and stuff like that. Can you tell us, just us an example of how you came up with, for instance, the red one? I think that might be the
Peanuts and
cherry peanut.
cherries.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the internal team is probably myself and Jason. At that time, my roommate Bob and my partner Olivia, wife now. Obviously, we took it to a lot of. Steamboat Springs is a small town, so we would take these samples we made. We had some great relationships with these early retailers, and we'd bring it to them as well. But I'd say those individuals I listed off with Jason, that was the brainstorming team. Peanuts and cherries is one that I had written down for a while. I love PB&Js. I can't help it. They're just delicious. And I knew I wanted some kind of variation in there. Jason's also a big fan, especially with the tart cherries. So it was just a lot of back and forth. The biggest challenge for us was just getting the right ratio of peanuts to cherries, which neither of us come from a food science background. So it is just a lot of R&D in the home kitchen, continuing to pester the roommates, partners, friends, like, but why? Like, just keep giving me all the details you can. So we spreadsheeted it and got as much feedback as we can. And yeah, it honestly all happened pretty quickly. It was like, I want a PB&J bar. It needs peanuts, tart cherries. Everything needs to be oil-free and simple and natural.
Tell us how you figured out what your shelf life is.
We've done a shelf life analysis with Mike and his team at the CSU Spur campus. Before that, we just did a traditional where we took our product off the production line, dated it, and ate it and tested it, and kept it in a natural environment, and just saw how it played out over 1, 9, 12 months to make sure we were giving our best estimate. But now having the resources of CSU Spur and the Innovation Center is definitely a huge help.
Mike, can you tell us about your shelf life study program? How did you help them with that?
So we always either say you can do a real-time shelf life, which is kind of what, Sam did by himself. And a lot of the producers or makers can do that themselves. So we say that's a viable option. There's also the accelerated shelf life testing, where you put it in a controlled chamber that's usually higher temperature, higher humidity, which kind of gives a 2-to-1. So accelerates that aging of the product. And then we have intervals, which we're tasting that product just to make sure that it kind of, meets up on all those organoleptic, fancy term for, does it taste right? Or are there certain, cardboard notes dripping into there? Does it get rancid? Does it get, are there things breaking down that, the manufacturers, the makers don't want in there? So we always kind of, use that best judgment with our team to say, all right, it's getting a little old or getting a little funky. And I don't think they would appreciate the consumers eating this at that point.
Does the compostable packaging have a specific shelf life that you have to keep into mind? Like, does it break down over time without the product being open?
Not necessarily. It needs what others need to compost. So it needs soil, heat, moisture. So on its own, it's not going to just start breaking down. But as a compost material, the oxygen barrier is not quite as good as plastic materials. So it does shorten our shelf life. But for us, owning our manufacturing, what we really preach is that when you're eating Bar You Eat and you're purchasing Bar You Eat, you're getting small batch, fresh granola bars. So we encourage people to think about that when you're getting a lot of stuff from the grocery store, especially in our category. There's a lot of preservatives and things in there, making it last much longer than 9 months, 12 months, even a year. So we're pretty proud that we're keeping it fresh and small batch to make it last.
Awesome. Sam, you've gotten a lot of good contracts, good customers now with retailers, and we've seen you around Colorado for sure. What was kind of the stand-up, fist in the air, pumping your fist, moments where you just landed something that was amazing for you and your business?
There's been a lot of them. I'll go in order. Our first So we started the business fall of 2019. First products with appropriate labeling hit shelves January of 2020. In March or in probably April, I know COVID's happening throughout this, but we're so small that it wasn't a huge component yet to the business. We applied to natural grocers and got rejected. And at the time, I was like, are you kidding me? We have a natural grocers across the street in Steamboat. It's our only small natural store. Please, please, please. And so in June, they came back like, all right, fine, you can get into Steamboat. And I realized, it's like, oh man, if you're in one, you can just hustle and grind and get into as many as you want. So we made a point of, all right, let's get all the mountain town natural grocers that we can. We know those communities, that we know they'll value us. Looking back, it's funny because that stand-up pouch was not very appealing. And I was very upset that we got rejected. And now I look at it, I'm like, I can't believe they even accepted us on the second try. Like, we were hand stamping a craft pouch. Like, we had everything you're supposed to, but aesthetically, we weren't there yet. So that was a huge win and really allowed us to grind and get after it in our backyard of Colorado. But more recently, some major victories. We, through the Naturally Boulder network, we were able to get a pitch and get in with the Kroger chains out here in Colorado, which is City Market and King Soopers. And that's been massive for us. And then additionally, just through calling and expos and networking, we launched with Whole Foods in Colorado this year. And then the other massive win that happened at the same time was we launched nationally with Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, as they're kind of looking to introduce more people to the outdoors in a fun and inclusive way. Bar You Eat really fits that mold. So those four victories all were hands in the air, calling Jason, friends, like, yes, we're making progress. We did it. That was a great feeling.
That's amazing.
That's so cool. And I like being able to hear kind of about the evolution of your product and packaging. I think sometimes with makers, when you do start out, you're using things that are just like available to you at the time, which a lot of times is like a hand stamped or hand stickered craft bag. That's very common. I'm sure, Sarah and Mike, you see a lot of people coming into your facilities being like, here's what I got. And you're like, yep, it's a start, but you know that it's going to change. And I kind of did something similar with our gift packaging, where I started out with just a candy box that my bottles happened to fit in that we hand stamped. But then to get into like a higher end gift shop, which is what we were really after rather than grocery, we were really trying with Williams Sonoma, and they actually helped us design our gift box for something that they knew would work well on their shelves and in their customer and would ship really well. And that was really helpful to us because then it, changed kind of the direction of what we did and how we did it. We also didn't have to hand stamp those boxes anymore, which is really nice.
I love that progression. So many of us have definitely had the hand stamping, hand sticking process and time. And it is cool to look back. I think the biggest thing I learned in that is embracing wherever you're at and just feeling good and making it a part of your story. Like, we are small. We do have to hand stamp or hand stick. And as you grow, one of our packaging for the bars it was almost like a tea bag. So it came open on one side and we slid the bars in and then we hand sealed them. So yes, we evolved from this stand-up pouch, but it was still one at a time, and aesthetically it looked better. But part of the story was like, we are literally hand packaging these bars one at a time still. And yeah, we're grateful to have moved on past that. But it's a cool part of the story. And for many people, it's a challenging part and it'll test you.
Earlier in our interview, you told us that you were excited when you made 60 bars by hand in 2 hours. Tell us, how many bars do you make in 2 hours now?
We're making almost 900 bars an hour, which is awesome. That first kitchen, when we were doing that, we eventually got up to about 140 bars an hour, which again, each moment is huge. You're like, oh my gosh, 140 bars an hour, one bar at a time. With the new little modifications that Jason developed, we got it up to 450. But to be in the kitchen we're at now at 900 is awesome. We know that with scale, we very easily can get to 1,200 bars an hour. It's still a very manual process. So down the road, when we can afford it, there'll be some automation slid into that process where we can bump our hourly to 18 to 2,400 bars an hour.
That's wonderful.
You walked us through some of the wholesalers that you sell to. Is that your main way of selling, or do you also sell direct to customers, like at farmers markets or something along those lines?
We also sell direct. We're still at the Steamboat Springs Farmers Market since inception. That starts again this summer. We are also doing where our facility is in Hayden, the farmers market there, and it's actually really cool. In Hayden, we have some of our employees who make the bars work those farmers markets, which I love. So you get to meet the people who are making the bars, which does still include Jason and myself. We'll do events all around Colorado, but we sell on our website. So baryoueat.com. You can also purchase our bars as well as on Amazon.
I was looking at your events page, and it seems like you do a lot of interactive outdoor activities, which is like the perfect place for you to be. How do you figure out which ones you're going to do?
A lot of trial and error, but we want things to be on brand and we want to enjoy them. We've done everything from river events, which are a big part of our mountain communities in Colorado, but we also really like these inclusive events. Cirque Series is one of our favorite. It's a running series that Julian Carr puts on across Colorado, Utah, and a few other locations where, sure, there's a small component of people who are racing and trying to win, but for the most part, it is meant to be this very inclusive. Everyone's just out to have a good time. It's a shorter distance, and there are prizes for everyone. They do random prizes, whether you're the perfect middle number. It's all about everyone having a great experience and walking away wanting to get outdoors and be active, which is what we're all about. We want to provide simple nutrition and we want to encourage people to get outside and be active. So that's part of our process when it comes to selecting the events that we attend, make sure that our values align, and just trying to put product in people's hands that would be excited about our brand.
That's wonderful. If you ever come out to this area, I was thinking a good event for you would be they do a Pacific Northwest Trail event where all these different makers for things that would be good for people to take on the Pacific Coast Trail can get their items. So if you ever come out this way, I think that would be the perfect one for you.
There's also, go ahead.
I was going to say that's a perfect one. We've had it recommended before, and the Pacific Northwest is an area that we're actively looking to grow in and expand in. We've got some incredible fans and supporters of ours out there who have already volunteered and said they'd love to help us. So recommendations like that go a long ways.
Perfect.
So I noticed you have a lot of merchandise and you have an ambassador program. Can you tell us a little bit about how you design your merchandise and how can somebody become an ambassador?
Jason is still our artistic vision and creator behind everything you see. We definitely try to have fun with it. We've got some things where we use the slogan Unwrap Adventure. The idea with that is wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can unwrap adventure. It doesn't have to be this huge activity. It can be a modest, it could be a dog walk, it could be just a stroll through your neighborhood, but we want you to unwrap adventure within your life. We like to have a little fun. We call ourselves granola farmers. We're making granola bars. Just a little play on words. And then we've got these characters that we're really leaning into. We've got some stickers, and they're starting to show up a little bit more in our packaging. But we've got this biking moose and a kayaking squirrel, and we've got a skiing sloth. That's one of our favorites, and we're going to
sloths are popular, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people love those. We're going to be introducing some more, but it's one of these components we're incorporating into our packaging and our flavors, where each flavor has got a different adventure animal. You can pick your own adventure animal, and we remind people that there's nothing weird in our bars except for the kayaking squirrel.
Okay, we overlooked your bites. I know the package. I bought some bars and bites, and they're coming in the mail. But can you tell us how you decided to do the bites?
Early on, we had the bars in that stand-up pouch, and you have a stand-up pouch. You're not individually wrapping bars, so it's recommended like you should just do bites. Like just cut them up into bites, and it happened pretty quickly. Just the beauty of doing farmers markets and engaging with your customers face to face is you get immediate feedback and honest feedback, and that was a great one. So we introduced those bites early, and they're great. When we do our in-person sales, people love them because they can share them with their friends and family. They don't have to eat a whole bar, and they can, like, personally, I keep one in the car, one in the cupboard, like they're everywhere, and I can just have one as I'm going about my day.
I think that's really nice too, because even just as like a maker or busy business person, like sometimes the only time you have to eat is like when you're in your car on your way to your next thing, or like in between Zoom calls or whatever. And so if you open something and then you just have to let it sit out or whatever, you don't have time to eat the whole thing, or it's really messy. I'm always like trying to look nice on my way to my next meeting. So having just something that I can just take and take a quick bite without getting it everywhere is very appealing to me.
Yeah,
I do have a question about ingredients too.
Mhm.
So for sustainability, what are some of the ingredients that you're buying here on the West Coast that might be grown by farmers?
We get our dates from the Coachella Valley in California. We get our pecans in Texas. Our oats come from a few different areas, but they're coming from either Idaho, the Dakotas, or Saskatchewan region. Something we're trying to do, being small, we can't quite yet leverage ordering direct. Some of our ingredients we're getting just a few boxes at a time. But right now with our dates and oats, we're actually going through the process of chatting with farmers and getting those direct, which is awesome for us. We've been listening in on conversations and participating on ways to improve that and move towards not only organic, but regenerative as well. So we get a handful of our ingredients locally as far as in the United States, but we're trying to improve upon that, and scale is our friend in that direction.
Cool. In Eastern Oregon, they grow naked pumpkin seeds. You might look into it.
Oh, that's fantastic. I will look into it.
Yeah.
We're almost at the point where we can order pallets of those. Which is like, that's like random exciting things, like when you can order a pallet of an ingredient. I'm trying to think that first day when I saw the flow wrapper wrapping the bars for us, that was another just like, wow, this is happening. That's huge progress.
It's real.
Well, we love all the things that you're doing, Sam, and I want to have our listeners be able to buy directly from you. So let's tell them one more time where they can get your bars.
You can buy Bar You Eat on our website, barueat.com, barueat.com. Also available on Amazon. And then if you're shopping locally, support your retailers. We've got a map on our website. So remember, Bar You Eat, it is a bar you eat.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. And we want to thank our listeners for tuning in to our shows. We record Masoni and Marshall live every week. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform like iTunes. Thank you to our audio engineer and our production assistant, Chelsea. If you would like to be a guest on the show, you can send us a DM on our Instagram, Masoni and Marshall. And we'll be back next week with more Colorado guests. Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye.
Bye for now.
You're listening to the Startup Radio Network. Listen, learn, launch. 10% of our gross revenue goes directly to women entrepreneurs in developing countries around the world through Kiva's microfinance program.